The following program contains adult themes, nudity, and coarse language. Viewer and parental discretion is advised.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1757 of Toronto Mic'd. 57. CityTV, my goodness. Proudly brought to you by new and improved Toronto Mic'd Patreon account. Go to patreon.com/Toronto Mike and become a member today. That means you, Lorne. By Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Toronto's Waterfront BIA. Check out what's happening on Toronto's waterfront this summer. Blue Sky Agency, the official distributor of Silen's quiet, comfortable, and customizable office pods. Create sanctuary within your workspace. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. Today, returning to Toronto Mic'd, it's Lorne Honickman. How you doing, Lorne?
I'm good. And you, Mike?
Do they make Lornes anymore? I think about Lorne Green.
Right.
I think about Lorne Pantser. Do you know this guy?
Sounds familiar.
I think he is...
Pantsers, the restaurant I grew up with. Is he related to the restaurant?
Yeah, he's absolutely. And then I think about Lorne Honickman. But are there any young Lornes that you know about?
I don't know any young Lornes. Lorne Michaels, of course.
Yes, of course. Yes, yeah. He's no youngster, though.
No.
So I'm wondering if that name is in danger of becoming extinct.
Well, let's hope not. We'll do everything we can to keep it going. I think it's been, you correct me if I'm wrong, the first time you and I spoke down here was almost 6 years ago to the day, pretty close, right? 2019. And I don't think I've been down here since.
Is this your second visit to the TMDS basement studio? Could that be possible?
Because I can tell you when we spoke, we spoke during the pandemic. I remember that. The pandemic had just hit the world and we spoke then. So we were all isolated. I did a Dylan hour with you when we talked about Mr. Dylan's birthday, and maybe we'll get into Mr. Dylan today. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
And I spoke to you when we did my Judgment Days, remember? Now, maybe I could be wrong.
I think you're wrong, because I believe you were last in this basement August 31st, 2023.
That's what I said. Right. So
okay, but that's not your first visit. Okay, so that was episode 13.
There we go.
Hold on.
All right, hang on.
So you were in the basement though for Toronto Mic'd.
Okay.
And then if I go back to your first visit, which was August 30th, you like this time of year to visit the TMDS studio, but you were here August 30th, 2019.
So I was right about 2019. Oh, I was back here in 2023.
So this is your third Toronto Mic'd in person, but we did do a Zoom, of course, during the pandemic.
Right.
But I got to say, it is always thrilling when legal specialist Lorne Honickman is at the door. Like, it's like, oh my God, that's Lorne Honickman from CityTV. And then I always say, where is your mustache? Like, where is it?
I should
Did you leave it in the car?
Yeah, I should bring it back. I think I should. Well, why not, right? Like, what do I have to lose coming around the clubhouse turn now?
Well, at least do it for me.
To get back to that look, to get back to that look. I'm sure a lot of people, well, maybe two, would really like that.
I want a thorough update on what's new with you, how you're doing. I have some specific questions, but off the top, can I tell you about some former colleagues of yours I was hanging with this morning?
Yeah. Who's that?
I was at the Imperial Ballroom at the Royal York Hotel all morning. You ever been to the Imperial Ballroom at the Royal York? Oh, yeah, no, you got to be a bigwig to get in there. Okay, so I'm there.
Right.
And this is a party put on by Hollywood Suite. And Hollywood Suite, one of the bigwigs there, is a guy I believe you worked with. Do you remember David Kynes?
Sure. Sure.
What do you remember about David?
I didn't really have dealings with David. I mean, we knew each other through the building, the CityTV building,
299 Queen Street
West. I guess it's not called CityTV building any longer, but that's I remember David. He was probably, we used to say they're on the second floor. The second floor were all the wigs, some of them small, some of them big. And I'm not sure where David fit in, but yeah. So, and who else?
Well, was David always nice to you? I want to know, was he a good guy?
You know what?
No bad feelings.
You're asking
about
the
him?
guy who forgot he was here 2 years ago. So
I'm worried about you.
No.
These are dangerous signs.
I know. So I have absolutely.
And you're my lawyer?
I have no memory at all of him not being nice to me.
All right. Well, the other name I know you worked with, some guy named Gord Martineau.
Oh, Gordy. So how is Gordy? I haven't seen. I was texting Gordy recently because we were hoping to get together again, as we've been doing yearly for our friend Bill, and but that got kiboshed, canceled for various
Was that
reasons.
you explaining what kibosh means? Like you thought maybe that would be a term I'd be unfamiliar with, kibosh?
Yeah. Yeah, kibosh, from the Latin word kibosh, meaning to be kiboshed.
Such a lawyer.
Thank you. So I haven't seen. I haven't.
Why
seen
was it
Gordy.
kiboshed?
Bill moved out of the place that he had been in for a while, and he's moved up north to a nursing home. So the party couldn't take place that we usually had done, and I had texted Gordy, and then I had to text him back and say it's canceled. I was looking forward to seeing him again. How is Mr. Martineau?
He looked good. He's got those steel blue eyes, right? Sometimes we just lock eyes and we just stare at each other for a while, right? Just mutual admiration. He was hanging with a couple of filmmakers that listeners of this program will be familiar with, Stu Stone and Adam Rodness. Every time they make a movie, they get Gord to do a cameo appearance in the film.
Oh, nice.
And Gord loves it. So I think Gord obviously invited by David Kynes because he's a mover and a shaker. But when I think about those like CityTV newscasts I grew up loving, like, as you know, I keep trying to hunt these guys down.
Right.
On that note, before I forget, so since your last visit, I can't remember if it's before or after, but Harold Hossein has been over here. Do you know that?
I think
Hurricane Harold has been over here. Like I found him. We got him in the basement. Did a deep dive. But are you familiar with Peter Gross's? And I'm going to ask you about him in a minute. But Peter Gross's attempts to get Jojo Chinto to come on Toronto Mike. Are you familiar with this?
I am, and I know that you even asked me a couple of years ago.
That's how desperate I am to get Jojo in the basement.
And Jojo wasn't somebody else who I would see once a year for Bill's party. I saw him last year, and he doesn't want to come and talk to you.
No way, Jose, does he want to do, forget me personally, but he doesn't want to do any podcasts of any nature. He seems really like down on the idea, and he gave like a hard no to Peter Gross. Like, it wasn't even like open.
It's not just you.
It could be just me. If I see Jojo Chinto showing up on some other, imitation podcasts that are out there, I'm going to be royally pissed.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember mentioning something to him.
And what did he say? He shut it down right away, right?
Yeah, I you know what? Again, I can't remember if he said absolutely no or. But I think that. But Jojo would be great for you to speak to.
Yeah, thank you for telling me something I don't know. Yeah. Why do you think I'm pursuing him so hard?
Yeah, maybe use another name. Maybe
Toronto Bill.
Just pretend you're somebody else. I'm not sure if it's you, but it could be. I don't know. But yeah, it was always seeing Jojo every year when for the last couple of years when we used to see Bill. It used to be a lot of just getting together, even with those guys when we used to see each other for even an hour, 2 hours. It was always like we could sit back and just tell a few, hey, you remember this? And you say you saw Gordy today, and a lot of people, I will say this, Gord has a lot to be proud of in his career in doing what he did. And maybe a lot of people right now don't, I don't even know if they're watching the news. I have no idea. I don't know what's happening with news, but Gord was the guy. He could do things that I will say a lot of people can never do, Mike. sitting in that chair when he used to do that, to be able to, if something was happening and something broke quickly and you needed somebody to sit in the chair, there was nobody like Gordon
now
Martineau.
I must chime in, Lorne, to ask you, why the hell would a company with as much money as Rogers cut costs by cutting loose somebody like Gordon Martineau?
Well, I have no idea.
But they didn't even replace him with another anchor. At least when Lisa LaFlamme got it, they said, okay, we're going to put this guy in this chair. I don't think CityTV had an anchor after Gord.
No, I don't know what, I'm not sure what they're doing. Every once in a while, I'll flip around. I'll see my old colleague Cynthia Mulligan sitting in that chair now. I don't know if she's now considered the anchor. I don't know. But it was obviously a different time. And, when I think about when CP24 first went on the air, and nobody really knew about 24-hour news, and we didn't realize until it went on the air that you had to feed the beast, and that meant you're doing stuff 24/7, which I think we could talk about this as well at some point, that 24-hour news has had, I think, while a great access effect for people, it's also had a very negative aspect as to what news is. It changed news.
It watered it down, maybe?
Well, no, it changed news to views, right? Because you had to get your panels. You had to get your people talking about, here's what happened. But I think of some great things with what we used to do, Mike, when it first came on. And I came back to CityTV after I graduated from law school as a legal specialist. And so we're covering a trial, and a jury would go out. Now it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's say Gord's sitting at the desk, and it's, we're at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. Let's go to the courthouse. Lorne Honickman's there. Lorne, what's going on right now? Well, Gord, the jury's been out. They're, they went out about an hour ago. We expect maybe da-da-da-da-da-da. Gord and I chat for about 4 or 5 minutes. Here's a wrap and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I'll keep you posted. If anything happens, Gord, I'll let you know. Back to you. Okay. Now we're on a new cycle. Now it's the 10:15 cycle. Still waiting for a verdict at the courthouse. Lorne Honickman's there right now. Lorne, and we would do that 10:45, 11, and we just I would be saying the same thing or adding, but we realized that maybe somebody's just tuning in now, but Gord had the ability, and he made us, when we were out in the field, to be able to improve that way as well. You had to be able to speak. You had to be able, even if you're saying the same thing, you may want to be able to say it a different way, but you're getting the information out there. So I don't know if there's anybody really been like him. I'm obviously a fan, but I think that, and I'm sure I don't know what Gord's doing right now, but I'm sure he's keeping busy.
I hope he's keeping, I didn't get to, grill him, but, he's busy with all those Stu Stone, Adam Rodness 5/7 film cameos, right?
Well,
there's always one a year.
Next time I talk to him, I'll have to ask him about that.
You do it. They do one a year, and they always find something for Gord. He's like, but when I saw Gord at this Imperial Ballroom at the Royal York, I just like saying that. Like, apparently Tony Bennett played there, like a lot of bigwigs.
Yeah,
did you ever see Tony Bennett at the Imperial Ballroom?
No, I did.
But there's Gord. Yeah, he's always kind of hanging around.
Excellent.
Stu and Adam. So that's the trifecta there. By the way, Cynthia Mulligan, is she the only person on air there that you remember working with? Like, is she the last holdover from your days at CityTV?
Well, and in fairness, you're talking about how long I'd actually watched the news when I'm flipping through
right,
now.
Yeah,
so
you can't
from the first few minutes that I may watch, yeah, she's the only one that I recall being on the air when I was even close to that building.
What was your last calendar year that you worked at 299 Queen Street?
2009, 2010. That was when the last year of Legal Briefs. And that was the show that we started in 1999, 2000. Weekly show. It was on CP24, and it was broadcast across the country on Court TV Canada, which was another one of the properties they owned. And that was my weekly talk show that I was doing. And it was, I guess at that time, I don't know if things have changed, but up until when I left, it was the longest running show on CP24. And that was the last time I was in that building.
Okay. wow, this is a foregone error now when I look back. But a bunch of people who did work in that building were because David Kynes would be friends with them, and I think he invited all his friends except you, Lorne.
Yeah, well, that would have answered your first question of, did you like David Kynes? Did you get along with it? I'm assuming that I did.
Okay, good news on the live stream. So, Lorne, I'm not sure this even existed last time you were here, although it probably did, but you're live at live.torontomike.com. And the exciting news I have for you is that Jeremy Hopkin chimes in to say there are a few young Lornes in his wife's family because they honor her grandfather by naming people, I guess, after their grandfather who is a Lorne. So there are young Lornes in this country.
Thank goodness.
I don't want to say. Yeah. I heard
that
from
was like you really put me off right at the beginning, and I didn't.
Well, I like the name Lorne. I just don't know any young Lornes.
My original name was Michael. That's my middle name. So
that's my name.
Yeah. So I was Michael Lorne for 2 weeks of my life. So
they flipped it.
They flipped it. My mother flipped it when I was about 2 weeks old because she thought that she liked Lorne better.
And there were a lot of Michaels.
Yeah.
It's too many Michaels.
So there you go.
At the same event, quickly here, just as we catch up, and I got so many things I want to talk to you about, Lorne. Ben Johnson was at this event, and I had a chat with Ben who wanted me to know, this is me now pumping my own tires, because somebody's got to pump these tires, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need air in the tires. Ben wanted me to know I was his favorite interview ever, he said. He said the most fun he's had in an interview, the most enjoyable interview experience was for Ben Johnson was on Toronto Mic'd.
Wow.
You know what? Is that something or what?
Yeah.
And then he told me, I asked him, we were catching up. He's talking about some things he's working on. And then I asked him about his dream. He told me about his dream was to retire to Jamaica. And I said, how close are you to that dream? He goes, 1 more year, Mike, 1 more year. And then I said, Ben, before you leave Canada for Jamaica, because he wants to just go disappear in Jamaica for the rest of his life. I said, Ben, you visit the basement for your exit interview, like exiting the country. Ben Johnson, and he says, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
So
could end up being his worst interview, but it doesn't matter at that time.
I'm playing of house money now. Like, we have the best interview ever. Let's make the worst interview ever. So before I have an extended intro that I haven't even read yet. I'm going to read it, and we're going to cover a lot of ground here, Lorne. But I played off the top Mark Dailey, and this ties to Mark Dailey. So I know you were good friends of Mark Dailey, right?
When we worked together, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
When else would you be good friends? Like you had to put a qualifier on that.
Well, no, because that's an interesting comment and question, because when you talk about being friends, good friends at work, not at work, he was the type of guy that I didn't socialize with out of work, right? So that's what I mean by that. But when we worked together, and there was a time where we worked pretty closely together because we were both, I was covering courts, he was covering crime, and so we're out on the streets.
So you got to know him well on a professional level, but you weren't going out for like a beer with Mark Dailey.
Not all the time. Once in a while, Okay.
So I can't even remember if I've covered this with you in the past, but I'm doing it again, okay? So there's a song by Rush, a famous song by Rush. It's called Subdivisions. Okay, I used to watch this all the time. I don't know, Toronto Rocks, for example. I met the guy who, today at this event, I met this old coot, whose name will come to me in a minute, who tells me he's a founder of CityTV, and he's
a founder?
Yeah. I think there were 4 founders, apparently. Right. And he's one of these 4. So one is Phyllis Switzer.
Switzer, yeah.
So, and one is Moses.
Right. And I think Sherry Grafstein.
Okay, so the other one. Do you remember this name? I'm going to need Weisblot to tell me on the live stream. But that's the guy I was chatting with at this party today. And he says, I created Toronto Rocks.
Okay.
I think that's a big deal. Like, I met the creator of Toronto Rocks. Okay, eat your heart out, Jay Gold.
Toronto Rocks, the late John Major. Yeah. And I think, didn't Brad Giffen do Toronto Rocks as well?
Yes, he did.
Very good line.
Yes, he did.
Very good.
Good way. That's why you're here. But so, Rush had a big hit with Subdivisions. I'm going to play 20 seconds. Listen closely. So there's just 20 seconds of Subdivisions. Do you hear the voice saying the word Subdivisions?
No.
So I isolated it. So now this is going to be a 2-second clip so you can't miss it. So listen closely. Do you hear the voice saying Subdivisions? I'll do it again.
Yes.
Okay. So an ongoing conversation. Yeah, it's there. You did it several times in the song. You hear a voice say Subdivisions.
Is this a long way for you to say that that's Mark Dailey's voice?
I'm telling you. So yes. So.
Okay. You could have just told me.
No, I'm building a story here, Lauren. Okay, this is how you set the table before you eat. Okay, I'm not an animal here. So there's some debate online. There are people who swear it's Neil Peart who says that. In the video, it's lip synced by Alex Lifeson. That is not Alex Lifeson's voice. I had extensive private conversations with Ed Conroy, who you might know better as Retro Ontario.
Right. Yes.
I kind of hoped to see Ed today, but he didn't make the trek in the city because he left during the pandemic. He left the city. He's Port Perry or something. But I'm talking to Ed. I'm like, Ed, I'm online. There's conversations about how, no, it's not Mark Dailey. That's Neil Peart or whatever. But it sounds to my ears like Mark Dailey. And Ed Conroy says, he'll bet his life on it that it is a sample of a news report on CityTV where Mark Dailey says the word Subdivisions and they sample it in that song. He is certain, and I am certain, and any disbelievers or haters out there, we can't get Mark Dailey sadly to confirm this because he's no longer with us. But I wondered if you, a man who worked closely at 299 Queen Street West with Mark Dailey, I'm going to play it one more time, and then I want to hear from you, Lorne, if you believe that is Mark Dailey's voice, okay? So one more time now that you're thinking about your friend Mark Dailey. You ready?
Yes.
I'm certain. I want to end this debate today. That is Mark Dailey.
Okay, I can't help you, Mike.
But does it? Okay, you can't say definitively. You're such a lawyer. But to your ears, your expert ears, does that sound like his timbre? His voice?
Here's what I could say. If you told me it was Mark Dailey, and I would not be able to say to you, no, it's not. But if you're saying to me, is it John Doe or Mark Dailey, I'd say sounds like Mark. But again,
okay, we're not in court here, Lorne.
No, I know, and we're spending a lot of time on this. So I do want to be able to give you whatever, I want to help you as much as I can, Mike.
I just wanted your analysis, listening
well, you're talking
with
about
me.
My ears, trying to hear something embedded in a song, and you're asking me, because there's this incredible debate out there, is that Mark Dailey? So my answer to you is, it's to the best of my ears' ability, it sounds a little like Mark Dailey. And I think, I hope I've helped you there. And I want to thank you for inviting me downstairs. And I'll see you in 2 years, and we'll get into some other stuff.
Do you feel like we wasted too much time discussing that sample in the Rush song that I believe is Mark Dailey? Because I have somebody in here who worked with him.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you that whoever is listening to our interview right now is going to be saying, Lorne, thank God you got Mike off of that. As I saw you working to get off of that. He wouldn't let you get off of it. I appreciate that you did your best. I think that's what people are going to say about that.
Do you think this is legal briefs? This is Toronto Mike. I know my audience.
We'll be back. Okay.
They want more deeper
We'll
dive.
be back right after this with a lot more piercing questions from Mike to Lorne.
I'm going to read a scripted intro. I was going to read it off the top, but I'm going to read it now. And we're going to cover a lot of ground here, but I'm going to give you, because you just did an ad break, so I'm going to tell you that Great Lakes Brewery, Lauren, has sent over some fresh craft beer for you.
Beautiful. We
love it. Brewed right here in South Etobicoke. They're hosting us at the GLB Brew Pub at Jarvis and Queens Quay. They're hosting us FOTMs on the 25th of this month, September 25. It's a Thursday night, 6 to 9 p.m. at the GLB Brew Pub. That is TMLX 20.
Excellent. I'll put that.
You never come to my TMLX.
I did. That's what I was going to tell you one time I saw you. Remember?
Yeah. Do you remember? Was that at the brewery?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. When I see Lorne Honickman in the wild, that's unbelievable. So I have a lasagna for you as well, Lorne, from Palma Pasta.
Oh my goodness!
I got to get you to Palma's Kitchen. Did you ever come to Palma's Kitchen?
That's actually where you got me. It was Palma's Kitchen. Yes.
Okay, we're going to be back there either late November or early December.
Beautiful.
I'd love to get you back there. That's right. You were at a TMLX event at Palma's Kitchen. We love Palma Pasta.
See, I did come to one.
Okay. And Ridley Funeral Home doesn't want to see you anytime soon. Will you? That's a good question. Sometimes I have a Jewish person on, and I say shout out to Ridley Funeral Home, and they say shout out to Benjamins. Like they have to be. Can you be buried at? Can you have a funeral at Ridley Funeral Home?
Now that might be even an easier question than was that Mark Dailey? I think I can. I think I can, but I don't think there's any law. I don't know I think a lot of it has to do with belief, right? I don't think there's any prohibition against it.
But it's true. I'll say that. I'll say, they hope to see you one day, but not too soon. And then they'll be like, I have to go to, I think it was Steve Simmons who told me, it has to be Benjamin's
or Steele's Memorial.
Yeah, there's two.
Yeah.
Okay. You know Howard Berger?
Yes, and I do. And
works at Benjamin's.
I know, and he saw me. I attended a funeral, and he came up to me, and we chatted because we knew each other through the years. And he said, "Yeah, this is my new job."
Yeah, he's had it for years now.
Yeah,
I follow him on Facebook, and no matter what he posts on Facebook, no matter what, he uses the hashtag Leafs. But he can post a picture of, here's my beautiful daughter. We're hanging out on her birthday or something. And he'll say hashtag Leafs. Like anything, like even if it's not hockey related stuff, but anything
when
he posts.
covered the Leafs,
But why is he using the hashtag Leafs?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I can tell you he was a great reporter. Came from my era.
You're a big Leafs fan still.
Yes. The only person I think that knows as much about the Leafs as I do, because I've listened to him with you, is Steve Paikin. But other than that, I'm not sure if anybody really does.
He's going to be at TMLX 20 on September 25. Steve Paikin.
Oh, you know what? I always I'm another person, like we were talking earlier about Gord, a huge fan of Steve's. I thought when I heard him, I said, you know what? I should reach out to Steve. He and I haven't talked in a long time. Maybe because everybody always talks about, let's do this podcast, let's put this together. I said, what about? I'm thinking to myself, Honickman and Paikin together, two people who
I can make that happen.
Two people who used to report down the middle, like not to the right, not to the left, down the middle, like you have to use it. We could, Paikin, Honickman, PH. There you go.
I can make that happen.
Acidic broadcasting or something.
Now, I did tease earlier that I was chatting with a founder of City, and then on the live stream they said the four founders.
Yes.
The missing guy has passed away, but this is David Kynes who told me he was a founder of CityTV, and David knows his stuff. So I think there may be. I'm trying to see here. So Phyllis, here we go. I know this is compelling audio. Okay, so the interesting. The four founders that get listed on the wiki page are Phyllis Switzer, Moses, Jerry Grafstein, and Edgar Cowan. I met a different guy, so I think there were others. Like I'm gonna have to get him on to get the full story.
You can't remember.
I can't remember his name, but absolutely was like billed to me by David Kynes as a founder of CityTV. So I think there are others that just didn't make the Wikipedia page. So thank you to Ridley Funeral Home for sending this measuring tape over for Lorne. So Lorne, that's yours as well. There's funny comments on that. You really didn't want me to go too long on the subdivisions chatter. Can you explain to me, like, was it that you just, let's get on with it? You just think there's too much time spent on
maybe, I think what happens, Mike, as you get older,
it's impatient.
Time seems always of the essence, right?
That's another Rush song. Time stands still, but not
right.
for you.
It's...
Okay, we moved on from subdivisions.
Right.
I've definitively decided it was Mark Dailey.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
I'm going to read something to you. In this 1757th episode of Toronto Mike welcomes back lawyer and City Pulse news veteran Lorne Honickman. Among the many topics discussed include Lorne's prominent participation in the new Crave 3-part documentary streaming now on the death of Christine Jessop, his memories of covering the Christine Jessop Guy Paul Moran story from the beginning, his concerns on the state of political and legal reporting in this country, the proliferation of misinformation and the dangers of confirmation bias that is everywhere, his carving down of the law practice to join his son's law firm, new projects he is hoping to explore like playwriting, the possibility of returning to media in some capacity, and the possibility of putting together a new podcast, helping people learn to love and appreciate the songs of Bob Dylan.
Wow.
There's a lot there. Who wrote that?
That is written so well.
Did AI write that?
So when you and I decided we're going to get together again, because I just don't like to waste time, as you can see. So I said, you know what, Mike, I'll write you the intro so we can get this on.
The irony's not lost on me, though, that you're looking at the watch. Let's get on with it. And you were like 20 minutes late for this.
Or was I? I thought it was a 1:30. I know. I thought it was a 1:30.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have 1 o'clock in my calendar.
There you go.
Last time there was a mistake like that, Molly Johnson almost bit my head off. So I'm a little sensitive. I'm wearing a shirt today, gifted to me by a listener, Andy, at an TMLX event, because if you remember the Molly Johnson episode, I told her, I said, your brother was in The Wire. And then she kind of, says, my brother wasn't just in The Wire. My brother created The Wire. And she goes, she smacked my box set of The Wire DVDs that's over here. And she said, check the liner notes. Check the liner notes. It's in there somewhere.
Oh, that, okay. So
and because I have, I read the liner notes.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Can we talk about this 3-part documentary series that I watched on Crave?
Sure. I got it's streaming now. Back in November, I got a call from a producer who said they're putting this together. Christine Jessop, the tragic story of the 10-year-old who died from Queensville, and everybody who was living around at that time and maybe even a little later will remember the story. Her neighbor, Guy Paul Moran, was charged, wrongly convicted of the murder. He was eventually exonerated through DNA, and then very recently, 2020, through DNA analysis, the actual killer was identified. So they were putting together a 3-part documentary, and called me up, and he said, look, we spoke to the family. They spoke highly of you as somebody, a reporter who was really fair covering the story. We'd love you to participate. And it was one of those things, Mike, where it was almost a reflex. I didn't hum and haw. I remembered the story well, and I said, sure. And I went there on a Saturday morning downtown. We shot it. I think they interviewed me for 2 hours. And one of the incredible things about it for me, Mike, was driving downtown from Richmond Hill, and thinking to myself, wait a minute. Like, what if I don't remember stuff? Maybe I should have Googled this beforehand. Maybe I should have sort of reminded myself. But what was the most amazing thing, and I guess it shows you when you do stories, and in that business, I was able to remember a lot. And that really, as I'm speaking and as we're talking, I'm going, oh yeah, I remember what happened when she first went missing. And
so they don't prompt you, are they feeding you things they want you to say, or are you just for 2 hours talking?
Yeah, no, it's like they're going through it. So we're talking about first the disappearance, then what happens when Guy Paul gets arrested, and the police investigation. What about his first trial? Then what happens at his second trial? And it was like, now there's as you can well imagine, if you see it.
Well, I'm going to speak to my experience in a moment, but yeah.
But there's a plethora of stuff that I talked about that wasn't used, obviously. Right. But what ended up happening, and I saw the way they edited and put it together, as people were telling me, starting with my son, they said, wow, they used you as the narrator, the way they edited.
You're almost stealing my thunder there. So I watched this, and I'll admit, I watched it because I heard you were in it. And I am interested in the case. I just had over here, Lyndon, do you know Lyndon McIntyre?
Yes.
So he was just here last week, I want to say.
Right.
And we talked about him covering that case. So it just came up on Toronto Mike. But I'm watching this document. It's called The Christine Jessop Story. And again, everybody can get it now on Crave. And you're there as a talking head, but yeah, your son's right. You act as the narrator. I almost thought maybe they had scripted it for you. Your participation in this is extraordinary because you basically are the brother has a big role, of course, Christine's brother.
Right.
So it kind of speaks for the family.
Right.
Because Christine's mom is no longer with us.
It's the tragedy of his life that is so front and center.
So he's a big part of it, but you're a huge part of this 3-part series, and you're like a straw stirring the drink here.
Yeah, no, and it was interesting the way they did it, and I think it was because I was able to remember these key moments. So, kudos to the producer, director, and editors for being able to take my stuff. For example, there's a part of it when we're talking about the second trial when he's found guilty. And I'm sitting there just literally free associating about, because I do remember that day. You know how we look back on our lives, Mike? You go like, oh yeah, that day. The day that Guy Paul Morin was found guilty in July of 1992, I will always remember for 100 reasons. One of them being is 3 weeks after that date, I was about to start law school. I was, for people who may not know, I went to law school later in life after being at CityTV for almost 12 years. I'm going to law school. I'm still going to be working at City. So I remember that day, and there were things that I remember that I guess they were able to have visuals of. They were able to get the actual video, because I do remember, for example, when Ken Jessop wasn't at the actual verdict. He missed the verdict. And I remember I was with Al McCormick, the cameraman, and we see Ken running, and I said, get that shot. So I say that during the interview, and of course they're able to find that piece of this. So good for them.
Well, good for you though, and I know you're about to say another wonderful sentence, but it's good for you that, because it really I'm watching some, like, do they have like a teleprompter for Lorne? Like, it is so well, like, you're excellent in this series. Like, I hope, I don't know what other, true crime you covered that would be worthy of a similar documentary series, but you're kind of built for this, right? Because you are a lawyer, you were there, and you're a well-spoken guy.
And I also know how to do television, because I did it for most of my life. So when I'm sitting there being interviewed in a television interview, I not that I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm going to do this or that, but I know exactly what they need, in the sense that they need the information. And I was able to, if I'd get prompted by questions, and so they just did a nice job editing. And there was one important part, and I think this is important for people who were living in Toronto during that time. And I always say that it explains why I was probably the helicopter parent I was when my kids were born, in and around that time. There was something unbelievable in this city that was happening, that it seemed, maybe it was a perception, but every summer there was some tragedy so Christine Jessop was 1984. Before that, there was a kid, Sharon Morningstar Keenan. Her body was found in a fridge. I covered that. After Christine Jessop, the next summer was
Perrott?
Alison Perrott. Alison Perrott. Yeah. The summer after that was Nicole Moran, who came off the elevator. That story just came out, was revisited about a month ago, when the police, a cold case, were putting out, they're showing pictures of what every year there was something. And I would saying this to my kids when I was doing this Crave special. I said, I probably was a helicopter parent, because that's just who I am anyway. But I think that I do recall when you're working and you're covering these stories.
Was there a Holly Jones?
Yeah, Holly Jones came out.
Kayla?
Yeah, of course. These are the things that it was so strange. It was happening in the summer. And I know I have a full memory of how it affected me as a reporter back in the 80s, when my kids are like 1 and 3, 2 and 4, as they're growing up. You talk to my wife, and I'd be calling home, where the kids, they're outside playing. Are you watching? Yeah. Driving her crazy. Nice. And again, I'm not going to blame it all on the job and what I was covering, but I know it had an effect. And when I sat for this interview, and like I said, I'm sitting there for a couple of hours, and I'm sort of remembering all this stuff, because he's asking me questions like, do you remember going up to Queensville? And, back in those days, when we didn't have a live eye truck that would go up to Queens, we didn't have we had a live eye truck, but that was for the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock. We didn't have 24-hour news, but, we're running up to Queensville.
But you were everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. You know, you'd run up there, you'd do your few interviews, you'd come back to Toronto, get it on the air and whatever, and you'd sit there and you'd interview. And the Jessop family, here they were, their child's abducted. Eventually, a few months later, of course, they find out she was murdered, sexually assaulted, brutally, etc. And you'd come up there and you'd do an interview. And like they'd be talking, and you go, "Holy cow!" You know. Okay. Wait a minute. I gotta speak to the people in the town. And you grab the clips, put them together, run back, and the story would go on the air. And then you take a deep breath, and then
Future Mike here. Let me tell you what just happened. Lorne and I, about 40 minutes into our conversation, I look at my computer. I've got a dialog box flashing to tell me my hard drive is full. Oh no. But luckily I have a backup recording. Well, get this. The primary and backup recording seems to be corrupt. I can't open these files at all. I look at Lorne and I say, "Lorne, I'm not sure I have that." Lorne looks at me and says, "Good. Because I actually have to be somewhere else, and I realize now we need more time." So Lorne and I rescheduled this episode of Toronto Mic'd for later in September, where we can give it the time it deserves. Lorne wants to cover a lot of ground with regards to the current news media in this country, etc., etc. So there's 40 minutes I recorded with Lorne that I actually thought was lost forever. But through the miracles of modern technology, I was able to resurrect episode 1757. And now I can say I have never lost an episode in 13 years. And yes, I'm going to spend some time this weekend clearing up space on this dusty old MacBook Pro, because I won't run out of space ever again. Lesson learned. See you all Tuesday with my special guest, Kathleen Robertson. That's right, 90210's own Kathleen Robertson in the basement, making her Toronto Mic debut. This is going to be one heck of an episode. If you have a question and or comment for Kathleen Robertson, the Hammer's own, write me. I'm Mike at torontomike.com. See you all Tuesday.